was having a conversation with Tony last night, and she was just sharing with me some of her struggles. We were sitting out in the front yard, and I just began to share with her about hurts and things like that. People in my life that have been in and out of my life that I've loved, that I've cared for, and for whatever reason they've left and they went on and done whatever, but in that process there was hurt, and I've forgiven them, and I've really tried to deal with my stuff in that way and doing the right thing. But what I don't often do is allow God to get to the hurt, is get to the pain. And I think in the process of dealing with our hearts, because the scripture says, above all else, keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it flow the issues of life. I mean, that's a pretty strong message, above all else, keep your heart, for out of it flow the issues of life. Well, why is that? Well, the heart, the physical heart, pumps blood to all the other organs, And so what is he talking about? Our spiritual heart. Well, our spiritual heart, whatever's there, pumps into every other area of our life. If we're carrying around pain and we're carrying around hurt, then we filter every interaction through that pain and through that hurt. And so we're actually reacting on people out of something that may have happened 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever the case may be. And so we're carrying around all this junk. And that's why it's important to deal with our heart, to deal with our filters, to recognize that stuff's there so that we don't carry that around into new relationships, into new interactions. And one of the things that I have found that helps me in doing that is a very simple practice of just spending time in the presence of God. And I don't mean journaling or reading or anything, but just saying, God, have your way in this hurt. Have your way in this pain. And actually grieving the loss of the person, or grieving the hurt that was caused, or grieving the rejection. There's an old saying by the founder of Dunklin Memorial Camp, and maybe he got it from somebody else, but he said, if your eyes leak, your head won't swell, And I think it's very healthy for us to have times, where we simply weep and we simply cry, and we let that stuff out. We let off the pressure switch, and we let the pain out, and we let the hurt out. And it's another good thing with hurt is to recognize that it's there, to recognize that just because I was hurt then doesn't mean this person that I'm sitting in front of right now is going to do the same thing to me, because that's one of the dangers of carrying around hurt, is I'm carrying that hurt into new relationships, and I'm viewing them through that pain, thinking they're going to do to me the same thing this person. Well, that's unfair to them. That's an unfair judgment of them, an unfair judgment of their character. So I have to recognize, man, I got to be careful what I carry around, especially if I'm in a leadership role, in a leadership position. I have a very strong responsibility to deal with the issues of my heart so that I don't let it affect other people. Because leadership is influence. I want my influence to be pure. I want my influence to be clear. I want my influence to be right and not taking out on the people that I'm leading the stuff that's happened to me in the past. It's very important that we guard our hearts and we keep our hearts right, and we allow God to heal the hurt and to heal the pain. There's 3 aspects of forgiveness, and we often miss the third one, and I love this. The first aspect of forgiveness is very simply to forgive the person for the hurt that they caused, to say, I forgive. It's just a physical act. I forgive this person for what they did to me. I forgive them for the hurt that they caused. I don't want to carry this around anymore, Lord. I forgive them. I let it go. And then the second aspect is, Lord, cleanse my heart of the judgments that I have made, or the resentment that I have, or the envy, or the bitterness. I love the definition of bitterness. It's so good. The definition of bitterness is not being able to see someone according to the grace of God. I can only see that person according to their mistakes. When I'm looking at someone and all I can see is what they've done wrong, then that tells me that I'm bitter in my heart and I need to deal with that. So that's the second phase of, asking God to forgive me and cleanse me of that stuff. But the third phase of forgiveness that we don't often deal with, and this is the one that keeps the pain alive, it's the lie. It's the deception that comes as a result of the offense. What did I believe about myself because of what took place? So what lie did I buy into? Did I believe that, I was unworthy, or did I believe that I was a failure in the situation? Whatever the case may be, but it's very important to ask God, Lord, what's the lie that I believed in that? And then, God, what's the truth? And when God speaks the truth into our heart, it says that the truth sets us free. We get free from that place in our heart. I had a situation one time where I had a boss, and he had let me use a van. And I came to work one day. He said, hey, I'm going to need to get that van from you. And he said, I got to sell it. I said, that's fine. And so I had another vehicle anyway. So I gave him that van. And the next day, the guy that was working for him was driving that van, and I felt this Tabasco just come up in but I said, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to forgive. And all week, man, I forgave, but it just wouldn't go away. It wouldn't go away. So Saturday I was off, and I went down into my quiet time spot, and I began to pray. And I said, God, I need help. I don't know what to do. He said, well, you believed you were a failure. You saw your boss give that van to someone else, and it communicated to you that you weren't doing good enough and that you were a failure. And I said, well, what's the truth? He said, well, that couldn't be further from the truth. You're one of the most successful people that I know. And God just began to love on me in that place. And I came back to work Monday. The situation hadn't changed, but I had changed. And I had complete peace in the whole situation. I wasn't bound to it anymore. I was free. And I say that to say that when we really deal with the hurt and we really deal with the pain on the heart level, we don't have to be like a pinball in a pinball machine, letting life just bounce us around wherever we go. We actually then begin to take control. We actually then begin to determine where we're going to go and what we're going to do with our heart and the direction that we're going to go. We're not bound by these situations that control our lives anymore. We actually begin to walk in God's authority. We begin to walk in confidence. We begin to walk in a new place, and we begin to learn how to live free. When I began to learn how to forgive, and I began to learn how to deal with my hurt and work through my stuff, I began a journey of true freedom. And that's a journey of true freedom, really being able to deal with the issues of the heart.